Welcome to Billion Dollar Startup, where we bring you visionaries and disruptors who have started, scaled, sold, or invested in a billion-dollar startup, also known as a unicorn. We also feature tech founders who are building the next billion-dollar startup. Billion Dollar Startup is a unique podcast sponsored by Dragon X Capital, the venture capital firm that concentrates on seed and early-stage tech companies with the X factor.
Welcome to Billion Dollar Startup. This is Dan Locke, the managing partner of Dragon X Capital, a venture capital firm where we invest in early and seed stage companies. Today, I am super excited to have the co-founder and CEO for Balloon, one of our active portfolio companies, joining us. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Dan. I'm excited.
I want to first congratulate you for making Inc., right?
Yeah.
Female Founder 100, so congrats.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm so honored. It's exciting. Exciting to be on a list with such incredible female founders and entrepreneurs and just creative minds. So thank you.
You're welcome. So maybe share with us about just the story of Balloon. How did you come up with the idea? And then we kind of go through how do we get to where we are today?
Yeah, awesome. So before founding Balloon, I was a public health researcher. So I was developing national behavior change campaigns for federal agencies, so EPA, DOE, CDC, et cetera. And it was really in that role that I discovered that our business tools and processes, so meetings, emails, Slack, surveys, focus groups, et cetera, et cetera. So all these things that we use and do in groups to work together don't address the way our brains actually work in groups. So how we as humans best share information, share ideas, share feedback, and how we make decisions. And what they don't account for, of course, are these systemic, deep-rooted organizational issues that cost companies billions. They're really ubiquitous. From things like louder, more senior voices dominating conversations, people holding back their best ideas, their most valuable, authentic feedback, groupthink, other costly cognitive biases plaguing collaboration, plaguing decision-making, and then just uninformed leadership. Like leaders just don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to get access to it. And so identified that problem, experienced it in the workplace, and sought to build a product and a platform from the ground up that leveraged all the research for how you get the best, the most, and the most diverse ideas, feedback, and insights out of a group. So we first, bootstrapped, built kind of MVP of product, obviously creating a new category, got it out there, saw kind of what reception was, and really realized rather quickly that we really were unlocking something brand new in the market, largest untapped opportunity in the workplace. And from there, we've built and grown and gotten to where we are today.
The first couple years, what was that like?
Yeah. It was pretty brutal. I think every entrepreneur has those, those first few years story where you're really trying to get things off the ground. You're trying to get some momentum. I always think about it like the world is kind of existing and moving in its motion, and you're just trying to like insert yourself in it, this kind of motion that's already happening. And so there, of course, is going to be tons of friction, tons of no's. The world likes operating the way it operates. And so it was challenging. We were really creating something brand new. We knew there was something there. We had such deep conviction in what we were building. We knew how huge the opportunity is and was. And so that really created kind of really a lot of grit and a lot of push and a lot of drive to get to where we are. And, I still say we're just getting started. There's so much we want to build and grow and do. But yeah, those first few years are always so challenging. So many no's. You don't have a lot of social proof. You don't have the yeses yet. People are thinking, what are they doing? They were doing well in this other path. Yeah. Like, what is this thing? And, we get emails now and little notes now from people in the, in the early days who were like, oh, okay, you really were working on this thing and this really became a thing. And now I get it. So yeah, it's brutal, I think, for everyone, the first few years.
Well, Amanda, can you maybe share an example just for our audience? What are some of the problems that Balloon solves specifically for organizations? And then we want to talk about some of the clients that we're already working with, and we've got some big name clients that would be great.
Yeah. So in terms of the problem, so there's obviously all these systemic, deep-rooted problems, and we experience them, and everyone sees them every single day in their workplace when working in a group. You know, a meeting where there's louder, more senior voices dominating conversations. It's hard to like unlock what's actually in people's minds because of a lack of psychological safety in the workplace. Um, you know, people hold back their best ideas, their most valuable, authentic feedback because they don't feel creatively empowered. And then there's also just logistical challenges where one person can talk at a time in a meeting. Their meetings are covered with also anchoring bias, you know, where the first idea confines or limits or influences the rest. So how do you make sure that you're getting everyone's initial input? How do you make sure you're bringing more people into the conversation and unlocking that collective intelligence of your team, especially in today's world where managers and leaders are trying to do so much more with less, and they really need a competitive advantage. And how do you just tap into more from people and what they have to give and create an environment where they feel comfortable and confident providing that?
And then how long did it take for you to get the first kind of corporate client, like a big name client?
Yeah, we got our initial one of our initial customers fairly quickly. So within, I would say, the first 11 months as a two-person founding team, bootstrapped, and that was a Fortune 50 company. And so we built first version of product. My co-founder and CTO, Noah, built that first version of the product, you know, got us something that we could sell and test in the market. And they had a bunch of use cases right out the gate, you know, retrospectives, brainstorming, focus groups, market research, et cetera. And so we leveraged kind of our network and a lot of grit, like a lot of push to get that initial meeting. We said that we had a bunch of meetings lined up there, but we didn't. We flew across the country just to meet with them, to, you know, just appear bigger and really get that deal done.
And then from today, who are some of the clients that we have today?
Yeah, so some of our customers include Amazon, AWS, TrueCar, US Cellular, the New York Mets, Medtronic, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of incredible names. Also we're a very horizontal industry agnostic product. So we have large enterprise customers, we have scaling startups, we have professional sports teams and leagues, which I'm really excited about the work we're doing in sports. But really, really horizontal, really flexible product.
And Amanda, do you find that in the beginning, this is kind of an education sell, right? We need to educate the organization to use it and then educate the team members to use it. Initially, was there a challenge just to introduce this to the team members, kind of get them immersed, get used to the platform? Hey, why are we using this? Like, why do we need Balloon and how does that work? Like, talk to us about maybe even the onboarding process. That would be great.
Yeah, so I think it was something that's been one of our big learnings over the years from kind of starting point to where we are now, which is there is a learning part. You know, it's a brand new platform, brand new category that we call insight mobility, where we're enabling insights to move freely across the enterprise. And so when you're inserting kind of something new, introducing something new into a company, and you want to really empower that initial champion. So they're not doing all of the onboarding or they don't absorb a bunch of extra work. And so one of the things that we have since rolled out are facilitated flights, and flights are the collaboration experience on Balloon. And we actually have one of our team members will facilitate a flight with that leader and with the other team members who are going to be using Balloon. And so they get kind of the full experience. They're able to really quickly see the value and the power of the platform. They all feel empowered to ask questions. And what we found is that it's a huge just growth strategy as well within a company, a big expansion strategy, because there's of course all these other leaders within that initial flight, and they say, oh, can I use it this way? Can I use it that way within my team? And so then they feel empowered to bring it to their team. But it is something new. I think we were naive at the beginning about how new it was and how much you need to make sure that people feel empowered and confident when using your platform, and that you're really onboarding in a very deliberate, thoughtful way.
Because I think getting them signed up is one thing, but getting them using it, because once they use it, we know they will experience.
They love it.
They love it, the impact. They're like, wow, usually the organization's like, hey, why didn't we use this before?
Yeah, right. Like we got to use this for this other use
Yeah,
case a
why
few
didn't
months
we
ago.
use this
Yeah,
before, right? Yes.
yeah.
And do you find that with your go-to-market strategy, has it changed over time, or in the beginning it was very, very precise, like, hey, these are the companies that we want to help, or did it change over time?
I don't know if it necessarily changed. I think it definitely evolved, is what I would say. Like we always knew that we wanted Balloon to be horizontal. We wanted
Yes.
it to be industry agnostic. I
Yes.
think we got more specific about which industries we were targeting first. And I think that even in our wildest dreams, there were industries that were interested in us and use us who we didn't necessarily envision at first. So I think a great example of this is professional sports teams. So
Yes.
we were featured in The Ringer, and obviously, a sports publication, and
Yes.
we had baseball operations and assistant GMs reach out to us, and they were asking, can we use this for scouting? Can we use this for drafting? And that was a use case that we hadn't originally envisioned. And so I think that through our customers and through companies envisioning ways to bring our product to them, I would say that our go-to-market expanded, it evolved. We're always focused on getting an initial market leader within an industry using us, really building that partnership, developing a testimonial and a case study that we can then use to bring on others within that same industry. We've been really deliberate as well in creating a customer advisory board, which I would highly recommend any startup or growing company do, because you just bring your customers so close to you, and they really are helping to inform the next stages of the company. They're telling you in a very honest way what they like, what they don't like, what they need more of, all those different pieces.
And also now I know Balloon, we work with different influencers, some big name
Yes.
influencers,
Yeah.
right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So we always envisioned, I think this is part of that evolution and expansion. We always envisioned having getting the highest quality information on Balloon. How do you unlock it? And of course, one of the requirements of unlocking highest quality information, best ideas from a group or a team or a company is high quality questions, and making sure that the questions are asked in a really deliberate, thoughtful, research backed way. And so we thought there's no better way to do that than to bring in leaders and experts and researchers to co-create templates in product. So we've done partnerships with Adam Grant and Daniel Pink and Ariana Huffington, Annie Duke. We just launched her flight cohort. And so this is translating those different frameworks into question sets on Balloon that leaders can use and either edit and customize to make more applicable to their teams or companies. But it also, alongside just driving better outcomes for customers and unlocking higher quality information, it also just contributed to greater brand credibility, not only for us across kind of the industry in terms of who we were partnering with, but also for the initial champions bringing us into a company. Because when they're introducing a new product that's brand new, and they can say, hey, look, we're doing this flight template by Adam Grant, or we're doing this flight template by Daniel Pink, there's a lot of credibility there. So we've been excited about that.
It helps.
Yes, totally. It's so powerful, especially for a startup.
Yes, and let's say a startup founder listening to this, watching this, how did you get the first initial, because these are big names, these are like world-class thought leaders. How did you get your foot in the door? How did you get them to say yes? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, so this was a big push. I always say it's be persistent but not annoying, which is advice given to me.
There's a fine line.
Yeah, there's a fine line, a very fine line. So I think always be very polite, but also very persistent. To get some of these individuals on board, it was 30 to 40 emails, huge level of push to get those initial yeses. So I think that's one thing, is just being really, really persistent. And I can even look back and to get to some of these, it took so many different paths and so many intro requests, just trying to find the right path and keeping them updated, and like just a big, big push. So I think that's one piece, is just you have to be really persistent, really polite, highlight what's in it for them, which is, making their frameworks widely applicable to companies and bringing it down. And that was a big selling point for these
Yes.
partnerships for different
Yes.
individuals. And then I think also, you know, making it a really light lift, making it the lightest lift imaginable for someone, because these individuals are so busy. They have so many competing demands on their schedules and on their timing. And so
Yes.
when you have an opportunity to make it a light lift for them and show them, how great you are with the quality of the work your team does, and you make it hard for them to say no then.
Yes.
And that's been the trick. And also I think getting, you get one, then you get two, then you get three, and they really start to
The first one is the
build on each
hardest.
other. The first one's really the
The
hardest, and
first
you
one
get
is the
on,
hardest.
it's so hard. And you
Yes.
get so much feedback too, though, right? Like you're getting in front of them and you can hear, hey, what are their holdups? What can we make easier for the next pitch, etc. Yeah,
And once
first
you get
one's
the
the
first
hardest at the
one,
end.
and then you can leverage the first one. Hey,
Yeah, we got
Adam's
this one.
already in it, right?
Yeah,
She's already in it. Oh, maybe I should be in it.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Now
Yeah,
I assume it gets a lot easier now.
a lot easier. Yeah, and we're more confident. We know the approach. We know the process.
Are you
Totally.
thinking of adding even more thought leaders? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want every thought leader on Balloon as a template creator. We want this to be the highest quality question set for group discussions that are only available on Balloon. And we also want to get more broad too. We want to bring in different industries, really specific experts as well for different buyer types. Is something we're working on. And we also are building customer created templates as well. So we have
Oh,
customers in there who are building their own templates and also building their expertise in their area that can be used within their own company or beyond, with other leaders. So
so let's say within a company, there's a cohort or there's a team here. The collaboration, it's doing great. They have a set of questions, a certain process. Hey, why don't we use it for this division or for that part
exactly.
of the company as well, or their international division? Who knows, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
even locking some of those templates within companies is something we're working on as well. So if there's an area that, has an expert, like an innovation team, and they want everyone within the company to be using this framework for innovation, how do you make that available to everyone, everyone there?
Yes. And do you see that in the next, like let's say during COVID, right? When COVID happened, did it impact Balloon, or did you have to pivot, or did you not have to pivot? Just kind of staying on course. Hey, this is what we're doing. This works. We don't need to change a thing.
Yeah, I would say that we didn't have to pivot. I think we became more relevant in many ways. I think
Yes.
the
Because of the
pitch,
remote nature.
yeah, the remote nature, the hybrid nature. I think the need for teams to figure out new ways of working and thinking became so important. And how do you engage people who are distributed and remote? How do you bring them into the conversation? And also the number of meetings skyrocketed. At the height of the pandemic, everyone was having meeting after meeting after meeting. And how do you kind of streamline those different processes? So I think we became much more relevant. Our vision as a brand and as a company is to never be trendy. We built this to align with the research and the science for how you get the most out of a group or a team of people, and those biases and those dynamics and those different problems and challenges never change. The baseline is always the same, and COVID and people being distributed and, a huge pandemic really highlighted these challenges for people and teams.
And I think also when working remote, I remember when COVID happened, a lot of just entrepreneurs, founders reach out to me, and kind of in terms of, oh, how do we work now? Like most of my team members, they're in an office, now they're working remote. I don't know how to lead the team. I don't know how to manage them.
Right.
Are they sharing ideas? Are they working like the synergy? All of that. And I'm fortunate because I've been doing remote before remote was even a thing, probably
Yeah.
15, 16 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time
wow.
ago.
Yeah.
And so when it happened, it wasn't like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's like, we've been doing this. I have an office, but also working remote for a long time. But I think for Balloon, a lot of companies, they would see the value of, like from, I think before COVID, it was more like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like, oh, it's good, it's a nice idea, versus during COVID or after COVID, okay, we need this in the
We need
company.
this, right?
Yeah, like this
Yeah.
is not a nice to have, it's kind of like a must have. Did you see
Yes.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw with our existing customers as well, they expanded, they doubled down on like the technology, on what they were using and doing. And it became just so a why now, it just so mission critical.
Yes.
And even now with so much uncertainty, what we're seeing is teams need a competitive advantage. Like
Yeah.
they want to win, they need a way to do that, and they need a way to leverage their team.
And they need to learn from each other faster, collaborate faster,
Yes.
be able to work together faster to be more efficient, right?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is the competitive advantage.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no time or room or space for a lack of knowledge sharing.
Now, Amanda, looking back so far, what we've built, and by the way, I do want to ask, because I do get this question a lot, because you work with your husband, right?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Okay.
my co-founder.
Yes, the co-founder. And I've coached so many entrepreneurs. Now, I work with my wife, Jenny, as well, right?
Yes,
We're
yeah.
together almost 24/7 for many,
Yes.
many years. Because usually a couple, business partner, either it's phenomenal or it's a disaster, right?
Totally.
So what was that like in the beginning? Did you guys argue? Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, I feel really fortunate. I think, and I know you can relate to this, Dan. I
Yes,
think
yes.
it's just really works. And when it works, I think it is a really big competitive advantage.
Yes.
Because you just know all the complementary parts of each other. And, I think that Noah and I know each other so well. I mean, we grew up together. We've known each other since we were 5 and 6 years old.
Wow.
So we really just know how to work and operate together. Yeah. And I can't imagine founding a company with anyone else. I think married or not, Noah and I are great co-founders. And we always think about that. We feel so fortunate that we get to do this together because we're so complementary. I think it's really important to have a co-founder who is really complementary in terms of skill set, but really aligned in terms of principles and core values around work ethic and around drive and around goals. And so I think you find a lot of those things in marriage as well.
Yes,
So I think it's a natural
and I
piece.
think nothing like helps a couple better to be if you guys are building something together, grow together, right? Because I've seen couple where let's say husband or wife, they're building a company, being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one is just doing something else.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, I think it would be so hard.
It would be hard. Like, why are you working so hard? Why
Yes.
are you like traveling? Like, why are you not spending time with me? And like all of that. One of the saying I have is I said, you will only be as successful as your spouse allows you to be.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my gosh,
Right.
it's so true. Yes.
And in this case, you guys are on the same page, growing
Yes.
together, and complementary skills.
Totally. Yes.
Like that's
such
awesome.
a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's such a
that's
good
awesome.
point.
So what advice would you have for young founders if thinking about they're just getting started now, being a founder, running a company? What would you say to them?
I would say first, don't wait. Like there's never going to be a perfect time. You just have to jump in because you're going to learn so much so quickly, and you really will get in your own way if you wait. So I
Yes.
think, and I think that that's how I am to this day as a company. Let's launch it, let's get it out there. We're going to learn so much. We got to get going. We got to learn. So I think that that's the number one piece. Time is a huge advantage. So getting something out there quickly and being really brave and brazen in how you launch things, I think is really important. And then I also think, grit is so important. You have to really push through everything. There's endless obstacles,
Yes.
endless, and you
Yes.
just have to be able to handle it. And someone told me that entrepreneurship is like a journey in. It's just a journey into learning so much about yourself and how fast you have to level up as a person and really learn so much about yourself and adjust and improve is humbling at times. But I think that there's nothing greater. I just think there's nothing greater than seeing your vision come to life and seeing customers and companies and people use something that you built and you imagined and you pushed forward. And so I say, just do it. You have to jump in. But I think picking something, not even picking something, I always say that like Balloon chose us, we didn't really choose Balloon.
Yes.
You have to really have such a core passion about what you're building, and that gets you through everything. And it really just, people can feel that, they can sense that, and they know it.
Yes. And whenever we talk to founders, and of course we get pitch deck every day.
All the time.
Founders
Endless.
looking for funding, but the first thing I think we look for is the clarity on the vision, but also is there a personal story, right? Like we want to know why are you doing this, right? We want to hear like why are you doing this. If there's some personal connection with, hey, I want to solve this problem because of something personal happening in their lives, and unfortunately, sometimes it could be a problem, sometimes it could be a tragedy. Right? Something significant in their lives that, hey, I want to do something about this problem. And I'm not going to let it go until this is solved.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we want to hear. Right?
Yes. It's obsession. Yeah.
It's some sort of obsession because we know how tough it is.
Like, yeah, you get it. Yeah.
We know how hard it is. If it's not an obsession, it ain't going to work. 6 months, a year into it, oh man, this is too hard.
Yeah.
Like,
Done.
Done. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I emailing a thought leader 50 times?
Yeah, right.
Why do I need to get on a flight
This
for a
is
meeting that
madness.
may not turn out to be anything?
Yeah, right.
It has to be an obsession. It must be,
totally.
right? Yeah. Amanda, what are maybe some of the fears you have as a CEO?
Oh, that's such a great question, Dan. I have to think about it. I think some of the fears, right? Some of the fears I have. I think my greatest fear, not my greatest fear, but one of my fears is that I don't want us to ever get in our own way of building Balloon into what it could be, and what it will be. And so I think that that's a really important piece, is just, I always challenge myself to be thinking as big and as aggressively as I can, and to not get caught up in other things, a minute problem or a today problem or an hour problem, but really be focused on planting the seeds, fertilizing the seeds, so that you can really have the big impact. And so that's something I would say that I'm always challenging myself in. And so I think that that's probably the base of that, is some fear in terms of operation, because I think that what we've built and the impact of the product and the vision and all of it's there. And so I think really bringing that and scaling it is a key driver.
And
So
last question, what's your vision for Balloon in the next 3 years?
Ooh, okay. I love it, Dan. So our vision is to be used by every team and company in the world, that we're the first place they go when they need ideas, feedback, insights, information out of a group, kind of independent of that use case, that we have unlocked the highest quality, most true data set in the world, with the best ideas, the best feedback that can fuel better decisions, fuel better products, fuel better outcomes. So just a broad, ubiquitous, everywhere company that's driving tons and tons and tons of value. And I think that we'll know when we really hit that goal, when a company looks foolish to not use Balloon. It's like, you're not using Balloon. Yeah, exactly. You're not using Balloon. What are you thinking? So that's our vision.
I love it. I love it. And for our, let's say any organization, if they want to learn more about Balloon, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can sign up for a demo at getballoon.com, and we'll get you all set up.
And if we have founders, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to connect?
Yeah, you can, you can email me directly. I'm really open in that way, Amanda@getballoon.com. Also, message me on Twitter. I'm at AK Greenberg there, and then LinkedIn as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for being on the show, and keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Dan. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of $1 Billion Startup. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit dragonx.com for more resources based on today's topic, as well as for access to previous episodes. That's dragonx.com. Thank you for listening.